This is a presentation of the University of Wisconsin Parkside.
I want to welcome you to 2012 Chiwaukee Academy. My name is Jennifer Navarro, and I am the Coordinator of Organizational Training and Development in Kenosha, also the co-director of Chiwaukee along with John Surdunk from Racine Unified. And we are excited to have this joint effort with Racine Unified, Kenosha Unified, and UW Parkside. This is a great opportunity for us to all come together. We have some exciting sessions for you this week, and we're looking forward to lots of learning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is going to be fun. This is going to be large fun. I met the keynote speaker. I picked him up at the airport yesterday afternoon. Went out to dinner with him last night, and I can honestly tell you I've introduced 15 keynotes. I've never quite met a gentleman like Lodge McCann. You can see he would be the guy in the center. He's not the little girls on either side. And Lodge is from the University of North Carolina State. I first became aware of him about a year ago when, through Discovery Ed, they have him as a featured speaker, and I saw a webcast that he did that just left me wow. I'm not going to give a whole lot of introduction. He doesn't want a whole lot of introduction, and I think, as you will see over the course of this morning, the reason he doesn't. So, if everyone would please welcome Dr. Lodge McCann.
So excited to be here today in Wisconsin giving your keynote address at the Chiwaukee Academy, and I hope I pronounced that right. Before my work at the university, I was a high school teacher. I taught AP Economics and Civics at Wakefield High School. At the university, I developed a project called Fizz, and Fizz is all about using very simple one-take video, like this video we're watching right here, to transform the classroom. So let's bring Dr. Lodge out in real life to talk about how this can transform the classroom, but let's not applaud for him. Let's do something a little bit different. If everybody would make this sound with me, we're going to make a buzzing sound, like a big bee is flying by. So make this sound with me here. Okay, then that means stop. You guys did a good job. All right, so let's do something a little bit different. Let's practice something a little bit more complex. Let's do some volumes. So when I raise my hands, let's get louder, and when I drop my hands, we'll get softer. All right, so try this with me. Here we go. So we get louder. Fantastic. Okay, here we go. So welcome to the stage, Dr. Lodge McCann. The camera didn't turn off, but I'm going to try it. So this is my niece, Elizabeth. And Elizabeth is 5 years old, and I love her to death. She just started school last week, and this is her picture going to kindergarten. And I just get a little bit emotional about that for some reason. But she lives in Tennessee, along with my sister, who is her mom, and my brother-in-law. And Elizabeth's an amazing little girl, and those of you who work with little kids, I'm not around little kids very much. I was a high school teacher, and I work with middle school a lot now. But most of you around little kids, this is not a surprise to you, but she's a very creative individual. I truly believe that all people, when we're born, when we start out, we have this amazing capacity for creativity, for creative expression. Just think about a little kid, and Elizabeth looks at the world, a lot of it for the first time. And she processes that, and what comes out, kind of her artifacts of her learning, she sings and she dances and she draws her way through the world, like most little kids do. And that's amazing. Like that's true creative expression, and it's beautiful, and we celebrate that in little kids. You know, and my worry is, and a lot of the work that I do is founded on this worry, I suppose, or this fear I have, that, you know, when Elizabeth gets old, when she grows up, when she's all grown up and she's, I don't know, 11, she's old, you know, at that point, we will tell Elizabeth, you know that creative expression that you do, you know that thing, but we don't do that anymore. You know, like we're done with that baby stuff, not human stuff. That's just baby stuff. And now your job, Elizabeth, because you're growing up, you're 11. Now your job is to sit and you listen for the rest of. That's it. Like that. Now you sit and you listen and you take in information, and then you keep going to school at 11. And that scares me to death, actually. So that's kind of the foundation of the work I do and what I want to talk about today. But this is me at her age. I was 5 years old, playing violin in my dad's recording studio in Chicago. And and you probably can't tell, but if you look closely, I've got this huge scowl on my face. I was a very angsty or angry little kid because my parents forced me to play music. I started violin when I was 2 years old, and I really don't think it was the playing of the music. It was more the outfits they made me wear. I promised myself I wouldn't talk about this, but I mean, look, really? And that was one of the better outfits. I mean, so as I got older, and every summer we would travel to Europe and play concerts and competitions and shows and things like that. I was in a chamber orchestra, and they would put us in the most ridiculous outfits ever. Like I'd be wearing, like a red cummerbund and one of those shirts with the little stripy things and a red bow tie. And when you're like 5, you don't really process much of that. But when you're 12 or 13, I don't want to be walking around Austria wearing that. Guess what's not happening? No girls are like, hey, what's up? That's not happening ever, not even one time. They're like, look at that funny guy. And then by that time, I was playing the cello, so I'm carrying this big instrument around. And then later on in high school, I played the bass. So not only am I wearing this ridiculous outfit, but I'm carrying this huge bass around. Anyway, so I was a kind of an angry little kid when I was this age. My mom was an orchestra director, my dad was a record producer, but so I had this kind of musical foundation for this focus. But this picture was taken a couple of days before I actually smashed that violin. I got so angry that that was not popular with my parents, and I got into some trouble with that one, and I actually felt really bad after I did it. But I've been rock and roll ever since. And maybe sort of feel I'm supposed to laugh when I say that. Okay, gotta get back on track. Okay, and so what really bothered me about, and I've thought about this as I've gotten older with years of therapy, and I realized that what bothered me about playing music was how sort of arbitrary it was. When I was little, so I started violin when I was 2. So I developed it as a language. My first memory is standing in line, waiting to go out on the stage at Orchestra Hall in downtown Chicago to play when I was 2. I had diapers on. Don't remember the diapers, but remember staying in this line and remember looking at the door and how crazy it was to walk through that onto the stage with all these lights. But really, the arbitrary nature, I was good at music. I learned it in tandem with language, which is like the Suzuki methodology, that you learn music as a language while you learn language, and you learn language when you're little. So the problem I had as I got older is my mom would say something like, you need to go downstairs into the basement and practice your violin or cello. At this time it was cello, it's a little later. You need to practice your cello for 30 minutes. And I'd be working on a new piece. So 30 minutes. I'd be like, some little kid, 10 or whatever. I don't want to practice it. Go downstairs and practice for 30 minutes. So I go downstairs and play the song and play it perfect. And I come back upstairs after 6 minutes. And she said, nope. 20 only 4 more minutes. And I throw a temper tantrum, and screaming on the floor and kicking things and breaking violins. I was a normal kid. And yeah, thank you, somebody, yeah. So as I got a little smarter, and we had a recording studio in the basement. And it didn't take me very long, it took me longer than it should have, but it didn't take me very long to figure this one out. That, okay, so it makes a lot of sense. So I'll go downstairs, and I'll set up the microphone, and I'll play the piece perfectly, and I had these big reel recorders, and I just put it on repeat. So that, the 3-minute song would play back, and then it would take about, to rewind, it took about 10 to 15 seconds, and then it'd play again. And I'd sit and read a book or something like that, and I'd go back upstairs after exactly 30 minutes, and my mom would say, "Thank you so much for practicing," and I'd be like, "You're welcome." So even though I sort of had a troubling musically based childhood, as I like to say, my parents think I'm ridiculous for saying stuff like that, it afforded me some interesting abilities, I suppose. My ability to do a couple of different things that are I think, fairly unique. One of them is that my brain works differently than probably most people. Since I learned music, I was embedded, and I was gifted at it as a kid. I learned it in tandem with my language. So I look at the world, and I see music in the world. I see the world as song, lyric, poetry, that kind of thing. And my body helps translate that into art, into poetry. So that is my creative experience. That's the way I express a lot of my creativity. So I look at something like this, which is notes that I took about mitosis, about cell division. And it's sort of chaotic, just notes, just stuff. Here's the thing. But what my brain does when it sees this, it sees the poetry and the chaos. I look at this and I don't see notes, I see lyrics, I see poetry. So, interestingly, the other kind of skill that my background has sort of afforded me is to look at, I look at poetry and I hear music in my head. And voices, but I don't want to talk about that. Okay, wait, rewind. So I hear music in my head. I look at this and I don't see poetry. I hear music. So again, what my creative experience is to translate that into music that other people can hear. So I just want to take you through very quickly my process, my creative process. And so this is a song that I wrote about mitosis. And I think there are 11 layers. So I record things. One of the other aspects of my life is starting music so young, I play a bunch of different instruments. And I was around recording studios, so I record a lot of music as well. So this song has 11 layers, and this is the process I use for taking that chaos, making poetry, and then turning it into a song. So start with something like an acoustic guitar, and here's what that might look like. Now you'll notice that before I started playing, there was like a click track, a metronome, that's to keep me on the beat. But that's all I hear. I've got headphones on. It's all I hear in the headphones, that metronome, and I play the whole song on acoustic guitar. That I hear the whole song in my head. I'm just trying to recreate it, so I need to start with a basis. So now that I have the acoustic guitar and that click track in my headphones, I can add drums. Now that I have the acoustic guitar and the drums in the headphones, I can add an electric bass. I'm starting to build the rest of the rhythm track here. So I've got acoustic guitar, drums, and bass in my headphones. Now I can add something like a banjo part. Okay, now just recently, as I was preparing to do this presentation, my parents had been staying with me until just recently, a couple days ago. They left, finally. And they were there for 10 days, which was lovely. And, but I had the opportunity, and every time I'm with my parents, I would write a song or we work on some music thing together. My mom and I she really likes writing out music. I find it tedious and slow, but she enjoys that, so I let her do that. But anyway, so my mom and I created a string part for this song. So this is us. I'm playing the cello, my mom playing the violin. Notice my mom's face. She kind of makes a scowl because she did not hit the right. She was a little flat on that last note, and she knew it. You can see right there. She loves when I say that. That's kind of thing. Look at my mom's face right now. Isn't that funny? So, all right. So next piece. My dad is a musician. He plays a bunch of different instruments as well. But his philosophy of music is simplicity with authority. He always told me that. Simplicity with authority as I was growing up, which I thought meant he's not very good. Which, he's okay. But, so I had him put an organ synthesizer part on, so you'll see there's a very simple intensity. You can even hear his fingernails like hitting the keys as he plays this part. It's kind of interesting. So now we have sort of the rhythm tracks. So all the rhythm tracks, now it's time to add some extra little things. So the three of us, my mom, my dad, and myself, did some hand clap parts. So here's what that looks like. Really exciting. So now this is the best part. My mom, during the bridge of the song, my mom comes in because we were working on this throughout a day. She comes in, and during the bridge, she's going, woo, woo. So we're like, let's put it down. So I got my dad and my mom back, and we're like, here we go. The woo part. Okay, so now we're getting close to the vocals, but the last track I put on to sort of accentuate some of the drum hits and whatnot, I put on some maracas. Really exciting. Okay, so the song is almost done. Now I go grab that poetry that I extracted from the kind of chaos of those notes before, and then I sing that poetry to the song. And I did this in two layers. I did a main vocal all the way through, and then I did a background vocal on some of the choruses. So here's what the main vocal looks like. We've got dipole itself prepared an interface. Now there's no place to hide. Oh, hematosis. Maybe we will divide. Yeah, it is fun. Yeah. Okay, so then I put a background vocal track, and that's the last layer. We've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for two diploid cells prepared. Interface, now there's no place to hide. Oh, hey, mitosis. Maybe we will divide. Anybody feel that too? Okay. So now, with 11 layers, the song is finished, and we can listen to the final product. The interface Chiwaukee cells growing, and in us the chromosomes replicate, twist up and shorten, so the 46 pairs of sister chromatids are here. Some say attached at the hip, I say attached at the centromere. In G2 the cell prepares for the show. We've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for two diploid cells prepared in interface. Now there's no place to hide. Oh, hematosis. Maybe we will divide. The nuclear membrane, it dissolves in the bath of all the jelly cytoplasm on the chorophage. Like how the chromosomes are free to float wherever they please, but on the metaphase plate they cut their metaphage feet. Oh no, it's giving spindle fibers time to grow. We've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for two diploid cells prepared in interface. Now there's no place to hide. Oh, hematosis. Maybe we will divide it, and a phase cell stretches out cytoplasm while the protein-heavy spindle fibers get up and at 'em while they reach out and pull the sister pairs apart. You 46 to the left, you 46 to the dark. Under the nuclear membrane forms around each set of the 46 chromosomes, while the tiny figures are called telophase. When the middle gets pinched and the side of the knees supply the cytoplasm wrench to identical 2 and 7's in the tub. Whoa. We've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for two diploid cells prepared in interface. Now there's no place to hide. Oh, hematosis. Maybe we will divide. Maybe we will divide. Okay, well, so I know a lot of people use music in the classroom, and it's a great tool. One of the things I'm passionate about is figuring out ways of utilizing music in the classroom and really advance or getting the most out of it as possible, because I think music resonates with a lot of, well, I think music resonates with every human being, and it's tied for me back to Elizabeth, because music is a way that almost everybody in this room and everybody in the world expresses themselves creatively in some way or another. And to that end, when music was created, I suppose, that's a weird way to think about it, but when music was first explored by human beings, it was not separate from theater, from telling a story. Like telling a story using theater and music were the same. When music was developed, or when we first started exploring that, no one ever thought that we would have iPads or iPods where you'd sit, in a train for 5 hours and listen to music. That was bizarre. That was science fiction, I suppose. But that's where a lot of it's gotten, and that's fine. But one of the things I've tried to explore is how to use extremely simple video to deliver what I call kinesthetic lectures. And these are video lectures because they explain the content in a song, but they're also kinesthetic because it connects the song to movement, connects the song to creating some sort of theater, to get back to how we originally envisioned music and our interactions with it. So let's go through one of these kinesthetic lectures together, just so I can show you what this is about, so you can experience yourself. So if everyone stand up, please. This is always the fun part. So if you raise your right arm, please, for me. Okay. So you'll see that it looks opposite. I'm looking at you. I promise. This is my right arm. Okay, raise your left arm, please. Okay, very nice. So if you turn to your right. Your other right. Okay, so the video we're going to watch is of me, and it's as if I'm standing here delivering this. So just keep that in mind, that when I turn to the right, turn to the left, it's going to look a little bit opposite. It's a fun challenge. So let's see what this is about.
The chorus is about an overview of interphase to mitosis. So in interphase, a human cell has 46 chromosomes, and in the S stage of interphase, those chromosomes replicate. So we end up having 92 chromosomes, or 46 pairs of chromosomes, because they're the new and the old are attached. We call those sister chromatids. So that's actually enough genetic material to have 2 diploid cells. And at the end of interphase, then it goes to that final check to make sure that everything is in place, that everything's been replicated appropriately to be able to go into mitosis to create those 2 independent cells. So here's how the chorus goes. The first part goes, we've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for 2 diploid cells. Here's how we're going to demonstrate that part. We've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for 2 diploid cells. Okay, let's try that one more time. We've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for 2 diploid cells. Okay, good. The second part. Prepared in interphase. Now there's no place to hide. Oh, hey, mitosis. Maybe we will divide. Here's how we're going to demonstrate this part. So, prepared in interphase. Now there's no place to hide. Oh, hey, mitosis. Maybe we will divide. All right, let's try it slowly all together. We've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for 2 diploid cells. Prepared an interphase. Now there's no place to hide. Oh, hey, mitosis. Maybe we will divide. All right, let's try it with the music. In G2, the cell prepares for the shell. We've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for 2 diploid cells prepared in interphase. Now there's no place to hide. Oh, hey, mitosis. Maybe we will divide. All right, let's try it one more time. In G2, the cell prepares for the shell. We've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for 2 diploid cells prepared in interphase. Now there's no place to hide. Oh, hey, mitosis. Maybe we will divide. Great, so that is the chorus.
Nice, well done. Don't forget that. Okay, you can take a seat, but don't get too comfortable. So this is really it's informed part of my, or a lot of my work at the university and what I've done the past number of years And I did a lot of this kind of thing when I was teaching as well. And I taught AP economics, so I was working with, 18-year-old, way past being able to do creative expression in the classroom. But it strangely it worked. But, so I developed this project, Fizz, and this is the learning framework for the project I work on. And I just been thinking about this recently, that I just go around and tell people I was wrong. I don't say that a lot, but I was wrong because I thought that what needed to happen in the classroom and the problems with it are that we needed good ideas. For me, it was along this framework that we need to develop ideas and lessons that fit into this framework. So on the vertical axis, we have Bloom's revised taxonomy, probably very familiar to most of you. So lower order thinking skills and higher order thinking skills for remembering to creating. I personally think Bloom's revised taxonomy is incomplete. That if we're having students create new products and ideas in the classroom, it makes a whole lot of sense to add another level of rigor to each assignment by using simple devices to capture that work and publish it for a global audience. If you're having students create a short presentation on mitosis, for example, it ups the value or it ups the rigor of that assignment if, well, this presentation is going to be, we're going to film it in a one-take fashion, very simple video, and we're going to put that online. Well, that's a whole different thing than you're just going to stand up here with your paper and read it. It's a different assignment, and it's much more rigorous and relevant for our students. So that's on the vertical axis. The horizontal axis is Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. To give us sort of a guideline, a way of thinking about the classroom as a place, well, this room right here, as a place where there are very diverse learners in this room. There are some people, probably some people who stood up, we just did a kinesthetic thing, and we're just like, oh, this is awesome. Like, finally, this is how I learn, that kind of thing. But there's a bunch of different types of learners in our classes, and the whole idea behind Fizz, and what Fizz means, FI stands for Friday Institute, the ZZ is my little temper tantrum against higher ed, because everything has to be an acronym. The Z's don't stand for anything. It has to stand, it has to stand for something. Zebra, zilch, I don't know. But no, it doesn't stand for anything. It just indicates what happens in this framework, that what we want is for the most rigorous and relevant education for our students to have creative expression and create new products and ideas and share those, is to have students publishing their creative works and then hitting as many learning styles as possible. And so if you think about Fizz, look at these, like plotting our lessons on this framework, what bubbles from the bottom and spreads out. So that's like little bubbles of Fizz. So that's what it means. And that they don't feel good about that explanation. Like, oh, but what does the Z stand for? Moving on. So why I was wrong is that I've spent years creating materials, a lot of them around music, but other things as well. I've spent years creating materials that meet these goals. That I walk in, for example, a year and a half ago, I retreated to my house for about 2 months and wrote an album about Algebra 1, from the number system to exponential functions. I also created all these materials to help teachers create music videos with their students, and do all these hands-on and integrated creative expression in the arts into math, because what I understood and what I heard people saying is that it's hard to reach students in Algebra 1. They're dropping out. We're not making it relevant or interesting to them. So I'm like, okay, so I retreated and created this body of music that helps lower the barrier to learning Algebra 1. It made sense to me to do that. So I emerged from my house with this album and all these materials, and I put it on my website for free, and it's great because I'm just trying to help and all that. And I've had a couple sessions with some Algebra 1 teachers. I brought them in, and very much like this, and I said, "Look what I've done for you. All right, you ready for this? Look what I've done for you." And I played them some of the songs and showed them the lyrics and showed them the handouts, and here's how you make it real easy. And then we did one together. We created a music video. We created a paper slide video. We watched them back. They were elated You know, math teachers, of all people, up and dancing around, you know? The world stopped for just a second. And I thought that was going to be funny as it was. Planned that way. And you know, so I was enthusiastic. Look at that, I've done a good job. I've done a good thing here. I feel good about it. And after it's over, you know, I'm talking to a number of them, and they said, oh, thank you so much for doing this. We just had a blast. And it was so much fun. I said, you're welcome. I'm really looking forward to seeing what your students create, because that's what this is all about. I want to see what your students create, so send me that. And they looked at me and they're like, what? Like, take the material free and use it, you know, and they're like, you're joking, because we don't have time to do that. Ever. Not even one time. Like, how would I ever integrate music? No, it's all I can do. I can't even get through the material, let alone integrate that level of idea. That's crazy. So I was bummed out. Like, this is really, really disappointed. So I kind of retreated to my thoughts and started thinking about, okay, so it's not a problem of creating more stuff. There's enough stuff. We've got plenty of stuff to do. It's really an issue of time. When can I do that stuff? And I started looking at, I was a high school teacher, so I went and observed a bunch of high school classes, and went into a bunch of high schools, and then also middle schools. We're attached to a public middle school. Friday Institute is physically attached to a middle school. So I spent a lot of time in schools right after I finished that album trying to figure this out. And I realized that, because if we're talking about time, it's really an economic issue. It's no longer an educational issue. It's how are we using our time? And I wasn't shocked, but I was reminded that this is how we use our time in public school, for the most part. Probably a lot of people in this room don't necessarily, but most people, this is what we do. We hit the lower order thinking skills of remembering and understanding over and over and over, and this is kind of the churn that we offer our students. And then we send them out, and I did this almost every day when I was teaching, just because I had to get through the material, right? So then I send my students out to apply their learning outside of the classroom.
Hi, my name is Dr. Lodge McCammon from the Friday Institute in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I'm here to tell you, there's a serious problem in American education. There's too much lecture in the classroom, which is not engaging for our students. Too much of the time, education today looks something like this. We have students in the classroom, and we lecture to them, which is inefficient, not engaging, and a one-shot deal. Then we send them out of the classroom to apply their learning individually, which is also not engaging. I started a project called Fizz that trains teachers to flip the classroom. That way, outside of the classroom, students are now watching Fizz video lecture series created by their teachers in the style like what we're watching right now. We've got a camera and a tripod, I've got boards with some information that I can slide. This is an extremely efficient way of delivering information to these students. They can be viewed multiple times, and it creates classroom time. That way, in the classroom, we can focus on differentiated instruction, where the teacher is a facilitator of collaboration, applying, creating, and publishing exciting and engaging products of student learning.
You know, and after working with now probably peripherally hundreds of teachers who are doing this over the past year and a half, because after I finished that algebra thing and went through that transformation sort of in my thinking, I've been spending a lot of my time doing this kind of thing, helping people move in this direction. And what the fascinating piece here is that kind of simple data up top. That we work with all the different content areas, mostly with middle school and high school, but we've worked with teachers now all the way down to second grade, which is shocking to me that we have enough direct instruction information in second grade to warrant creating these videos. It's amazing, and there is enough. But what shocks me is that an in-class lecture that takes an hour, 60-minute in-class lecture, is condensed consistently through the 4 different content areas, condensed to about an 8-minute video. And when I started to look at these kinds of numbers, when I started to explore this, I was shocked. because it made me think, okay, well, what in the world is happening that makes an 8-minute piece of content into a 60-minute lecture? And what it is, consistently, is classroom management. We walk into a classroom, and what happens is, here's my 8-minute video on mitosis, right? This content from the song. And so I walk in, like, you guys are my class. Okay, so today we're going to learn. I'm really excited about it. It's first period. We're going to learn about mitosis. And so, okay, so if everybody look up. Okay, everybody get out your notebooks? Okay, but you got your. Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to learn about mitosis today. Please wake up. Really, wake up. Okay, so we're going to learn about mitosis today. So if everybody, you have a question? You know, and that one kid in the back. Well, my dad said that mitosis is actually, and the whole class rolls their eyes, and then they're all gone. You're like, oh, okay. So that's first period, and you drag your kids through 60 minutes of information, which is actually 8 minutes of information, and guess what? Period 2. Okay, kids. Hey, everybody. Today we're going to learn about mitosis. Can you please wake up? Can you please? And so it's just this really sort of churn of inefficiency, which results in, by the 4th, 5th period, you've lectured this for now 4 hours today. Kind of internally realizing that when I lecture on this stuff, it's not really sinking in any way, so tomorrow I'm going to have to go back over it again. Like, okay, let's do a 15-minute refresher, because I know that the lecture didn't really take necessarily yesterday. I call this sort of at the end of the day when you're like, oh my gosh, my kids. I call it the Great Depression of teaching. Because, it stems from what I was experiencing when I was very young, repeating yourself. Like to a certain point, you need to repeat yourself to learn the information. But once you have that, you don't need to keep repeating that information. You have your version of mitosis. That's my version of mitosis. I don't need to say that over and over and over again, certainly not for 4 hours a day. So it's just fascinating to look at that kind of data and how it's consistent over the different content areas that I've worked with. And I know that I just want to address 2 questions here, because if we're talking about flipping the classroom, removing the lecture, and removing that direct instruction from the lecture, the first question is, wait, what about students without computer access? Because if we're talking about extracting that, that's a huge issue. And I've worked with a number of teachers across a number of different types of schools where 75% of the kids don't have access, and then schools where everyone is a one-to-one initiative. So it's just fascinating. And the schools that have less access, teachers are being creative to the point where they're creating DVDs or CDs, those kinds of things, sending those home with the students, thumb drives if they have computer but no internet. But what is really the interesting thing is teachers are being creative in finding time during the day, because these lectures or these content pieces are quite short. So things like a lot of middle school teachers I work with, kids will use the homeroom. Homeroom's 35 minutes. That's the perfect amount of time to sit down and watch one of these things to be prepared for class. And finding time within the school day to do that. And they're overcoming these barriers, and quite frankly, what we're finding is it's amazing how something like an iPhone is becoming very prevalent, where students don't have access at home, but they have access to something like this. So it is a barrier in some cases, but it's not one that can't be overcome. And then, what if students don't watch the videos is always the second question we get, because we're changing the paradigm of instruction. And it's amazing to me, this is certainly a valid question, but it's one of those things like, what do you do now when students don't do their homework? What's in place to help support what you want to do in your classroom to move forward? And a lot of teachers will answer this question by saying something like, well, I have them take notes, and they bring in their notes, and I can check their notes. And if they haven't done their homework, I can put them on a computer in the back of the room, and they can prepare for class. And 15 minutes later, they can join their peers. But what is interesting, I was at an algebra summit the other day, a couple of days ago, and a number of teachers came up to us with the same issue, where they said, okay, well, what happened was I sent the kids home. I did 5 days of this. I sent the kids home to watch the lecture, and half of the class came back and had it done. They didn't do it. So what I did, I just re-lectured it in class. I did a 60-minute lecture. And then after a couple of days of that, the kids who were watching it outside of class, well, they stopped. Why am I going to watch this twice? And we're just going back to the regular. And then they reported back to us at this algebra summit, this doesn't work. Well, and so basically what we told them was, you have to create expectations for your kids in class. You have to start out by creating expectations. Here's exactly what I want you to do, and you have to have things in place if they don't do it, of course. And if you do that, we find that people do better with this. But the other interesting fact here is that most teachers, there are 2 to 3 lectures a week. It's not like an every night kind of thing. So it's just adjusting the paradigm of instruction for their classroom to make this work. So of course, there are 2 parts to flipping the classroom. There's sort of the removal of content part, and then there's what you do with your class time. And I want to address both of those. But I want to do a little demo here. So we've got, this is sort of the framework for how we suggest removing the lecture part from class. And I'll go into more about why in a second. But it's a very simple video process, and I've got the setup right here, just like up there, and it's just a camera on a tripod, doesn't matter what kind of camera it is, and we focus on doing one-take videos. So you hit record, you do your thing, you hit stop, and then that file is done. You've captured your information and can be delivered to your students. So I want to show you what one of these might look like in terms of content, but this is just a small little short demo of a video.
We're going to take a look at how to put our demand curve on a graph. So we have the demand for our product here, and our product is cheese. And up the vertical axis, we have price, the price of cheese, and then on our horizontal axis, we have the quantity of cheese. So our demand curve basically says that as the price of cheese increases, let's say it goes to, our price of cheese is $11, our demand will be 40. Now, as the price of cheese drops, our demand curve shows us, as it drops to $5, our demand curve shows us that we will have a quantity demanded of 100 units of cheese. So as price decreases, the quantity demanded increases, and as price increases, the quantity demanded decreases.
Okay, so after about 15 or 20 seconds of that, I was like, spacing out, not really paying much attention. And then I come back to it at the end, and that was just 1 minute. So one of the magical things about this kind of structure is that, pretend that was like a live lecture, and then I sent you home to apply your learning on that 1 minute. Well, you get home, and you're like, well, I don't even remember. I was not paying attention, or I was yawning during that point, or I was checking my phone, or something. I didn't get what I needed. I didn't get that understanding. And what the great thing about this is that these videos can be viewed, obviously, as many times as the student needs. They can be paused and brought back, or whatever. So this time, we're going to watch it one more time. I would like you to take notes or mental notes, either way. But I want you to, your assignment is to have a more concrete understanding of what just happened up there.
We're going to take a look at how to put our demand curve on a graph. So we have the demand for our product here, and our product is cheese. And up the vertical axis, we have price, the price of cheese, and then on our horizontal axis, we have the quantity of cheese. So our demand curve basically says that as the price of cheese increases, let's say it goes to, our price of cheese is $11, our demand will be 40. Now, as the price of cheese drops, our demand curve shows us, as it drops to $5, our demand curve shows us that we will have a quantity demanded of 100 units of cheese. So as price decreases, the quantity demanded increases, and as price increases, the quantity demanded decreases.
Okay, so what I want to do an activity here. So I would like 2 volunteers. There can be 2 pairs if you need a little bit of courage, if you need somebody to come up here with you. But I want 2 volunteers to come up here, and your job is to recreate this 1 minute lecture. You're going to draw out, very, very simply, you're going to draw out basically the same kind of thing. But your job here, you're recreating this 1-minute lecture to teach your students about demand, this basic concept of demand. So you're going to come up and prepare the board with the information. You're going to prepare what to say briefly. It should be around 1 minute or less. And then we're going to film right up here. So if I could, I'll have plenty of wait time. If I could have 2 volunteers, that would be fantastic. If there's a civics person or an economics person, that would be great. Or somebody who's just brave. Just go ahead and raise your hand. Yes, thank you. Come on up. Come on up. Give her a hand, everybody. Come on. Fantastic. I'm going to ask for one more person. What's your name? Anna Marie. Thank you very much. What do you teach? Uh-oh. Okay. So yeah, just go ahead and get started there. And if I can get one more person.
Come on, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, come on up. Yes, perfect. Thank you. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Start. Come up on this side. Oh yeah, no. Nothing but patience. Let it work kind of quickly. I'm gonna rush you to do quickly. We don't want perfect. We just want just a general idea. There you go. Okay, while they're working, what I found, so part of my job at the university, of course, is to look into the research aspects of this type of stuff. Because my boss tells me there are 3 kinds of research you can offer people. I think that's right. But there's 3 sorts of impactful research and how it impacts certain people. There's research for those who are who believe, right? Like myself. I see something. I don't honestly need a whole lot of research. If I see something, I'm like, oh, awesome. It makes sense to me. I get it. I don't need to know all the research behind it. I'm just going to move forward with that. Second type of research is research for people who are inclined to believe it, who are open to believing some kind of change or difference. And that's really where I focus, because the third type of research is the research for the skeptics. And there's nothing that will, somebody who's skeptical about some process that can never be won over. It almost doesn't matter how much research you give them. So the research I've done for people who are inclined to believe something like that goes along something like this. So I've looked into different types of delivery online and delivering information online and what is sort of the engaging best practices for that. And this is the process we came up with based on the research. That basically the research says that facial cues, hand gesturing, and eye contact for videos, for presentations over 2 or 3 minutes are critical because the dropout, like for instance, a voice-over PowerPoint, very popular. But after about 2 or 3 minutes, and that drops as kids get younger, 2 or 3 minutes, start to lose focus. I can't focus on it. So what we really focus on is facial cues, hand gesturing, and eye contact to engage. Because a lot of our videos are 8 minutes, 12 minutes, somewhere around that. So to keep students interested and engaged. And then the close factor of it is critical as well from a research standpoint. And basically what we found is that, in summary of how to create things like this, anything that models the human-to-human contact and interaction, the best way we can model that is the most engaging presentation online. I don't know if this is good evidence, but if you type in flipping the classroom in YouTube, the first 2 pages, we own about 70% of that real estate because I believe it's because when you look at those thumbnails, there's a person in them. Like, I'm going to hear from somebody, So it's just kind of fascinating to me that that's the case. And I'm really up here just killing time to give them some time to work on the stuff. I'm sorry if it's a little babbly. I didn't have bullet points for this part. But are you prepared? I love it. I love it. Excellent. So, okay. Bear with us here. Okay, we want to come up and go first?
Sure.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll just put it up there. Sorry, this is a bit crude, but. Okay, that's fine. Go ahead and just take a seat there, skeptic. So there's no, so that, based on what I just said, that means there's no amount of research that will convince you. Oh, okay. You came here to be convinced, or you've already been convinced? Okay, so go ahead and scoot in a little bit. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. So again, use your facial cues, hand gesturing, point to things that you want to draw attention to, turn back to the camera to make a point. Okay. So how we're going to do this is you're going to just go ahead and stand up and hit the record button. Just walk around here, hit the record button, and then go ahead and sit back down and start going. So that's what it's going to look like. Yeah, you'll be fine. We're not going to put this on YouTube. It's just for other. Center the finger. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to look at curves for the demand for cheese
And the price of cheese. Okay. So here we have the price of cheese, and on the horizontal axis we have the demand for cheese. So as you notice, if the price is $5, the demand for cheese would be 40 units. If the price were $11, the demand for cheese is going to be 100 units. So in all, what we see here is that as the price of cheese increases, we will see the demand for cheese decrease, and vice versa.
Okay, I'm going to head step. We need to do it one more time because it was the opposite. So as the price goes up, demand goes down.
I
Yeah.
said the opposite.
Well, you said the right thing at the end, but we're going to try it again. This is good. You could. You're killing it. Let's give her some encouragement. Come on. Fair enough. Go for it.
All right, take two. Okay, what we have here is a curve for the price of cheese versus the demand for cheese. So on our vertical axis, we have the price, and on our horizontal axis, we have the demand. As you notice here, if the price of cheese is $5, the demand for cheese is 40 units.
Oh, wait a minute. Price is 5, quantity is 100. It's okay. Keep going.
Okay. When the price of cheese is $5, the demand for cheese is 100 units. And when the price of cheese is $11, the demand falls to 40 units. So all in all, what happens here is as the price of cheese goes up, the demand for cheese goes down.
Really, exactly 1 minute. Thank you very much. You can take your seat. All right, you're up. You're up. Very brave. Thank you. Very nice. I love it. Yeah. Very nice.
Okay, I will do it.
Okay, so actually we stand up and hit the red button. You see it starts recording. Listen back down. Yep, that's it.
Buenos días, estudiantes. Vamos a hablar sobre el queso. Tenemos en esta gráfica tenemos una línea vertical y una horizontal donde hablamos acerca de la diferencia entre el precio y la cantidad. En esta gráfica tenemos si el queso vale $5 y es más barato, aumenta la cantidad de unidades. Pero si el precio es más alto de 11, disminuye a una cantidad de 40 unidades, que quiere decir que entre más el precio baje, hay más demanda, y entre el más precio sea más alto, disminuye la cantidad. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Well done. I had no idea what you were talking about. Very good. No, yeah. Very, very good. Very good. Really, I love it. Okay, a couple of things that happened. One of my, and I'm glad this happened. So one of my things that I'm passionate about at the university is working with undergraduates, providing them model teachers, so that they then can enter the workforce as flipped teachers, and we're creating programs around this. But also providing them model teachers so that they can best learn their content in a way that's self-reflective and also productive, which is what we saw here. These explanations, if I was doing some sort of seminar on economics, I could then say, okay, here's where this information may not be exactly correct, and then we can refill it, which is what I modeled with the first person, kind of bringing that content around. But one of the really neat things about one-take videos is how immediate they are, and how simple it is, how simple the process is for creating something like this, and how it can truly, in a very user-friendly way, play a big role in transforming what we do in the classroom. And here's just one sample of that. So here is Anne-Marie.
Yeah. Okay. All right, take two. Okay, what we have here is a curve for the price of cheese versus the demand for cheese. So on our vertical axis, we have the price, and on our horizontal axis, we have the demand. As you notice here, if the price of cheese is $5, the demand for cheese is 40 units.
Other way around.
The,
Price is 5, quantity.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Keep going.
Okay. When the price of cheese is $5, the demand for cheese is 100 units. And when the price of cheese is $11, the demand falls to 40 units. So all in all, what happens here is as the price of cheese goes up, the demand for cheese goes down.
Very nice. And true, for the most part. Okay.
Buenos días, estudiantes. Vamos a hablar sobre el queso. Tenemos en esta gráfica tenemos una línea vertical y una horizontal donde hablamos acerca de la diferencia entre el precio y la cantidad. En esta gráfica tenemos si el queso vale $5, si es más barato, se aumenta la cantidad de unidades. Pero si el precio es más alto de 11, disminuye a una cantidad de 40 unidades, que quiere decir que entre más el precio baje, hay más demanda, y entre el más precio sea más alto, disminuye la cantidad. Gracias.
This is actually perfect. Thank you both so much. And I want to suggest something, or I want to point out something that I truly believe, and I've seen this reinforced, that a lot of people talk about flipping the classroom. They talk about, well, Khan Academy and the Gates Foundation, money, have done a really good job of advertising the concept of the flipped classroom. But what I've found from a practice standpoint, where the rubber meets the road, is that teachers will say something like, well, you know, I tried Khan Academy for a while, and then it just didn't end up working, or I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I think largely we hear that, for example, like a parent would come in or something and say, my student is getting a D, what are you doing to help them? And say, well, we have these videos that someone else, I'm kind of sending them off to watch all this content, and then we do practice in the classroom, which is what the advertisements say. And it's my opinion that, or my belief, that in order to do this effectively, it has to be delivered from the teacher. That good personalized instruction cannot be outsourced to someone else. You break down the relationship and trust that you have with your students, if that's the case. And we saw that, I believe we saw that right here, with a model out there. And not that these lectures were fine and for demonstration, but you created a video based on my model. Why would you ever use mine in your class? Why would you ever use my demand curve? And remind me of your name?
Vicky?
Vicky, I didn't ask, sorry. Vicky, perfect example. She would never use mine in her class. She had a Spanish version, right? I mean, it's a perfect example. There are students who, they wouldn't respond to my 1-minute lecture video on demand. They would respond to hers. Same over there. They know that teacher, they trust that teacher. We've all had substitute teachers in our classroom that come in. And those substitute teachers, well, you know what happens the next day? The kids are ready to move on, right? Like, oh yeah, that sub was awesome. I understood everything. Nope. That's never happened to me, not even one time. Not one time. You know, it's exactly the opposite. That sub was crazy, they wore a crazy hat, I didn't understand what they were talking about. You could have been the best teacher in the world. They don't have a relationship with that person. So, right, you can take my opinion for it. Those of you who are believers, some about you that you convinced me, but the CEO of Google, I love this quote. He said this a number of times. In God we trust, but all others bring data. So I'm going to try to put out some data that we have collected, and we're trying to scale a bit, but the type of data for people who are inclined to believe. I work closely with a teacher. Our lead model teacher is a teacher named Katie Gimbar, and she is a superstar. She's an amazing, amazing teacher, amazing person, and she's accelerated her incredible teaching style, I suppose, by doing this for classroom practice. So we do some basic experiments in her classroom where she helps me facilitate those, and then we spread them to other people. So I want to tell this part of the story from her perspective, using her class as sort of the foundation. And we have done these types of data collection experiments with different content areas across different grade levels, and seen about the same thing. She's sort of a good cross-section of what we find. So very simply, and just using the Khan Academy as an example, because it's the very popular one. So Katie had 20 students in her classroom, or picked 20 students at random. 10 of them watched her video lecture on simplifying radicals. And 10 of them watched Khan Academy's video on the same topic. And she gave them a short assessment afterwards. All the students did with no further instruction. All they did was watch that video and then take this assessment. And what was incredible was the statistical difference between the two groups. So the group that watched Katie's video, on average, got a 79%. On average, the Khan Academy got a 21%. Now, so the same topic. Now, the interesting story behind this data is what she asked, or what we asked the kids who watched the Khan Academy video. So what did you think about the Khan Academy video? And here were their responses. I think your videos are better because I can understand them more. Ms. Gimbar's videos or vids are way better to understand. The Khan Academy video was confusing and I didn't learn anything. Your videos are better. I don't like them as much because there aren't definitions and not enough examples. It was harder to understand. It didn't seem like he explained it well enough. Terrible. Didn't understand anything he was saying. He was talking like a mad scientist in a different language that I didn't understand. And then it was confusing because I just heard someone talking instead of just seeing them. Now, this could mean a number of things. At Katie's classroom, they had watched her lecture videos all year. So it could be that they were just not used to the Khan Academy one. And that's probably part of it. But what this data and the previous data and the other data we collect, which is very similar to this, what it says to me is that personalized, good instruction cannot be outsourced to someone else. You have a relationship with your students. and you want to build a better relationship with your parents. We have found that people who have tried to use other people's materials to completely flip their classroom have not been successful because it's not a personalized experience, and they don't have this big shift that we're seeing with people who own that success and go down their path by creating their own materials and making them custom and personal. So the other piece of data I just want to throw out there is, along with Katie's story. So Katie teaches at Durant Road Middle School in North Raleigh, and they have, it's one of these huge kind of, suburban middle schools. And we looked at this past year, we looked at the growth, because we don't want to look at scores, because scores are, we have good classes and bad classes, but we want to look at growth. The students come in at a certain level and they're expected to meet some sort of expectation. That was redundant. But we look at their growth because we want to see what the value add of the teacher was. And this past year, based on Katie's success, the semester before that, where she started flipping, she got her entire PLT to also flip their classrooms, creating their own videos. Her PLT started using Katie's videos in the same school, and it didn't work. They reported back the kids don't get it. It's a substitute thing. The kids say they don't understand when you say it. So these teachers all created their entire video library for Algebra 1, and with Katie's help and her modeling, of course. And this past year, in 2011, 2012, the Wake County average for Algebra 1 growth in middle school was 4%. 4% growth above expected growth is 0. The students kind of met their growth. So Wake County did a pretty good job. They went 4% above expected growth. Katie's PLT, the 4 teachers that have all flipped, their first year of fully flipping, their average growth was 10%. This is the highest average. This is the highest growth of any PLT in Wake County, maybe even the state. It was an incredible thing, and since then they've been asked to come and do, of course, a lot of things, and the county is looking at that, saying, oh, okay, maybe we should make this a top-down initiative. To which I reply, please don't do that. Nothing will kill this faster than that kind of idea. So anyway, so it's just interesting. The reason I put this up here is sort of just the beginning data we're collecting for some of you who may be thinking, oh, it's interesting. Another interesting story is that these teachers, because they teach at Durant Road Middle School, they have very large class sizes. Last year, when Katie started flipping, the reason she started flipping was to survive. She had an algebra class of 45. And that's when I met her. And she had 3 classes within one class, because these students it's a normal room with 45 kids. Luckily, this past year, her and her other algebra teachers, 37. So they got it down to 37. So it's an interesting thing, because I look at flipping the classroom as an incredible paradigm shift, not just in instruction. Like, yeah, it's great for the kids. It's a great survival technique. Lecturing to 37 students, 8th graders, even crazier, right? But 37 students in a normal room is not easy. Like, everybody in here knows that after about 25 students, you add another one, it's exponentially difficult, more difficult to get information through. There's more kids distracting others. The classroom management strategies are very, very difficult. So in large class sizes, it's just interesting that not only is it a great survival technique, but it's really providing some really amazing growth for students. And so what Katie's classroom looks like now is, there aren't any kids in the shot, of course, but it's every day the students come in and they get in their groups, and they're differentiated groups, and they're all sort of working at their own pace on differentiated assignments. It's all group work based. There's no direct instruction at all. So she's going around helping these groups, and they work at their own pace, and they're killing it. They're doing great, and she loves it. What I was expressing before, at the end of the day, we're like, oh my gosh, what did I do today? She doesn't experience that anymore. And that's one of the huge pieces of anecdotal feedback we're getting. Like, my life is so much better because for me, what goes on inside the classroom, of course, is the main reason these scores are different. Video lectures they're a tool to free up time. They are not the solution. So what happens in Katie's classroom now is she has time to do all of those things, to go back into her binders from previous professional developments and say, oh, okay, and is hungry for new ideas. For instance, she teaches Algebra 1, so she does a lot of music now with her class. Perfect example. That's why I chose an Algebra 1 person to start working with a year and a half ago, because there was this incentive for me to see if that would work. She's created her own kinesthetic lectures because she has been inspired to do that kind of thing. So, but what she spends her time on doing is very simple. The students work on problem sets, but as certain students get to a point, she has them creating and publishing their own lecture based on her model. Because the first question those students ask when they walk into a room at the beginning of the year, when she says, here's the way we're going to learn. It's a flipped model. I'm going to show you, I'm going to scaffold for you what I expect for you to do with these lectures. The first question students ask is, do we get to make them? 100%. We're going to use our class time to have students create their own sort of expressed artistic versions of these lectures, their own versions like we did up here, because that's going to solidify their learning, and that's what's going to be important and influential for them, and really a deep learning of the content. And they can share it with others and reflect on their own learning consistently because it's shared for a global audience. So at the end of the year, Katie shoots for basically creating a digital text of all the information that her students created in tandem with what she has to offer them. So it's a whole different way of looking at the classroom, and all of this is done, so it's the same process. So you have the same one-take video, and most of the teachers I work with are not techie teachers. They're people who just, are looking for simple solutions to do things, and it's been wildly successful to have both teachers and students go this direction. So, and now, there's math is a little different than everything else, but there's, in science, you have science labs, and of course, presentations and all sorts of things that we've always wanted to do. I look at it as sort of the promise of teaching. When I went through school, they told me I would be doing all these things, and then the real teaching started, and I'm in this breakneck pace to get through the content. So this brings us back to Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, I feel like it's really important that I try to help create or help design a system where she can maintain this creative spirit. Like, I desperately want her, when she gets to Algebra 1, I want her to be in Katie's classroom. I want her to be in a flipped classroom because she'll be able to express herself and use the time in the classroom to do differentiated, or be part of differentiated instruction and be part of hitting multiple learning styles, because that is going to support her creative mind. And my sister and brother-in-law are great parents, and they will provide that kind of thing outside the classroom for her. But a lot of students won't have the option to do that, and they all should have this opportunity. So again, we're going to go through the rest of our lesson now, and how I frame this is how I feel like I want Elizabeth and every student in high school biology to learn mitosis. That we have, the teacher has their version of mitosis, and by the way, I've never taught this before. I watched someone else's 8-minute lecture video and created my own. I would never stand up here at this point and play someone else's lecture video to you about this topic, because I would feel like you would be judging me or looking at me saying, he probably doesn't know the content, or he doesn't care enough to create his own version and say it in his own way. And I don't want my students feeling that way. It's easy enough for me to create my own than run the risk of doing that. So now that this is out there on the internet, I've said what I want to say about mitosis. We can use our class time for more active, engaging learning, like we started to do. So let's finish up our lesson on mitosis by finishing up the kinesthetic lectures. So if everybody would stand back up. And we will start from verse 1. Now, do you remember the chorus? Of course, did I hear that? I thought someone said that. No, that was just me. Okay.
The first verse is about interphase. And in interphase, the cell prepares for cell division, or what we call mitosis. And there are 3 stages in interphase. The first stage is G1, where the cell grows. The second stage is called S. And in S, all the genetic material, DNA, chromosomes, are replicated. So in a human cell, we have 46 chromosomes. So if those are replicated, we're going to end up with 92 chromosomes. And the chromosomes are attached. We have the old chromosome and the identical copy new one are attached to what's called the centromere. And this pair is called a sister chromatid. So the third stage is called G2, and the cell continues to grow and does its final checks to make sure everything that was replicated properly so it can move in to cell division or mitosis. So the first verse goes like this. In interphase G1, the cell is growing. Then in S, the chromosomes replicate, twist up, and shorten. Here's how we're going to demonstrate this. So in interphase G1, we're going to have our right hand make the G kind of backwards to us, but it looks right on the camera. So G1, the cell is growing. Then in S, the chromosomes replicate, twist up, and shorten. Okay, good. The second part of the verse. So the 46 pairs of sister chromatids are here. Some say attached at the hip. I say attached at the centromere. Uh-oh, in G2, the cell prepares for the show. Here's how we're going to demonstrate this part. So the 46 pairs would become a sister chromatid, one chromosome, the other chromosome. So the 46 pairs of sister chromatids are here. Some say attached at the hip. I say attached at the centromere. Uh-oh. Then we do a G again with our right hand. G2, the cell prepares for a show. So that is the final checklist there. All right, let's try it all together slowly. In interphase G1, the cell is growing. Then in S, the chromosomes replicate, twist up, and shorten. So the 46 pairs of sister chromatids are here. Some say attached at the hip. I say attached at the centromere. Uh-oh, in G2, the cell prepares for a show. Good, let's try it with the music. In interphase G1, the cell is growing, and in S, the chromosomes replicate, twist up, and shorten. So the 46 pairs of sister chromatids are here. Some say attached at the hip. I say attached at the centromere. In G2, the cell prepares for the show. We got 46 chromosomes. Let's try it again. We're going to add a little bit, something a little different at the beginning. So there's like a da-da-da-da-da-da part. So we're getting the right leg going for the first part of that. So we go da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it does that again, then we do a little walk the second time. So da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then we start with our part. So we'll do a little practice with that. Here we go. Right leg first. That little start wasn't at the very beginning. Let's try that one.
One thing.
There we go. In interphase G1, the cell is growing, and in S, the chromosomes replicate, twist up, and shorten. So the 46 pairs of sister chromatids are here. Some say attached at the hip. I say attached at the centromere. In G2, the cell prepares for the show. We got 46 chromatids. Great, so that is the first verse.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so don't forget that. all, I'm going to start up every single one. But so all the kinesthetic lectures that I record, I've done them for a number of my songs so far. And I've got songs about math, science, social studies, and a few about language arts. They're all on YouTube. If you just type in kinesthetic lecture or my name in kinesthetic lecture, it'll probably come up if you're looking to find some more things like that.
The second verse is about the first two phases of mitosis, so prophase and metaphase. So once a cell gets the okay to go into mitosis, it goes into prophase, which means the nuclear membrane is going to dissolve into the cytoplasm, freeing all those 46 sister chromatid pairs to float around the cytoplasm as well. Then the cell moves into metaphase, which means those sister chromatid pairs, the 46 pairs, are going to start to line up on an imaginary line in the middle of the cell called the metaphase plate, and they line up one on top of another. All right, so here's how the verse goes. The nuclear membrane dissolves in a bath of all that jelly cytoplasm on the prophase lap. So here's how we're going to demonstrate that part. The nuclear membrane dissolves in a bath of all that jelly cytoplasm on the prophase lap. Okay? Second part. Now the chromosomes are free to float wherever they please, but on the metaphase plate, they plant their metaphase feet. Oh no, it's given spindle fibers time to grow. Here's how we're going to demonstrate this part. Now the chromosomes are free to float wherever they please, but on the metaphase plate, they plant their metaphase feet. Oh no, it's given spindle fibers time to grow. So spindle fibers start growing on the edges of the cell. All right, let's try it all together slowly. The nuclear membrane dissolves in a bath of all that jelly cytoplasm on the prophase lap. Now the chromosomes are free to float wherever they please, but on the metaphase plate, they plant their metaphase feet. Oh no, it's given spindle fibers time to grow. All right, let's try it with the music. We will divide. The nuclear membrane dissolves in a bath of all the jelly cytoplasm on the prophase lap. Now the chromosomes are free to float wherever they please, but on the metaphase plate they put their metaphase feet. Oh no, it's given spindle fibers time to grow. Whoa. We've got 46 chromosomes. Great, let's try it one more time. Maybe we will divide. The nuclear membrane dissolves in a bath of all the jelly cytoplasm on the prophase lap. Now the chromosomes are free to float wherever they please, but on the metaphase plate they put their metaphase feet. Oh no, it's given spindle fibers time to grow. Whoa. We've got 46 chromosomes. So that is the second verse.
Excellent, you guys are doing great. To find my other songs that I mentioned before, my website is called iamlodge.com, like I am tall, just iamlodge.com, and they're all listed there, and you can free to download, free to whatever. There's a bunch of materials there for creating music videos as well.
The bridge is about the third phase of mitosis, anaphase, where those sister chromatids are pulled apart and separated. So here's how the bridge goes. In anaphase, the cell stretches, adding cytoplasm, while the protein-heavy spindle fibers get up an atom. They reach out and pull the sister pairs apart, U46 to the left, U46 to the dark. Let's figure out how we're going to demonstrate this. All right, so in anaphase, the cell stretches, adding cytoplasm, while the protein-heavy spindle fibers get up an atom. They reach out and pull the sister pairs apart. U46 to the left, U46 to the dark. And then we do this. All right, let's try it again slowly. In anaphase, the cell stretches, adding cytoplasm, while the protein-heavy spindle fibers get up an atom. They reach out and pull the sister pairs apart. U46 to the left, U46 to the dark. All right, let's try it with the music.
I don't hate my doses. Maybe we will divide in anaphase. The cell stretches out cytoplasm while the protein-heavy spindle fibers get up an atom while they reach out and pull the sister pairs apart. U46 to the left, U46 to the dark. Nuclear membrane.
Great, let's start one more time.
Hate my doses. Maybe we will divide in anaphase. The cell stretches out cytoplasm while the protein-heavy spindle fibers get up an atom while they reach out and pull the sister pairs apart. U46 to the left, U46 to the dark. Nuclear membrane forms.
So that is the bridge.
Okay, so the third verse is the last part, so we're going to do that in a second. Also, all the songs that I create are licensed, or all the education songs are licensed through Discovery Education. So if you'd like to find them on Discovery Education, if you have that in your school, the streaming, you just type in the search bar, type my name, and all that stuff, and more will come up as well.
The third verse is about the last phase of mitosis, telophase. And in telophase, a nuclear membrane forms around each of the 46 chromosomes that have been split apart. And through cytokinesis, the cell actually gets pinched down the middle and divides, and it creates two brand new 2N cells or diploid cells. So here's how the verse goes. A new nuclear membrane forms around each set of the 46 chromosomes wound tight and thick. So here's how we're going to demonstrate this. So we're doing this, so at the end of the bridge, so a new nuclear membrane forms around each set of the 46 chromosomes wound tight and thick. Okay, that's good. The second part, we call it telophase when the middle gets pinched and the cytokinesis applies that cytoplasm wrench, to identical 2N cells in tow. Okay, so here's how we're going to demonstrate this. So we got the fists up here. We call it telophase. We go fist forward. We call it telophase when the middle gets pinched and the cytokinesis applies that cytoplasm wrench, two identical 2N cells in tow. We're carrying behind us. All right, let's try the whole thing together slowly. So, a new nuclear membrane form around each set of the 46 chromosomes wound tight and thick. We call it telophase when the middle gets pinched and the cytokinesis applies that cytoplasm wrench, two identical cells, or two identical 2N cells in tow. All right, let's try it with the music.
To the left, U46 to the dark. A nuclear membrane forms around each set of the 46 chromosomes wound tight and thick. We call it telophase when the middle gets pinched and the cytokinesis applies the cytoplasm wrench. Two identical 2N cells in tow. We've got 46.
Great, let's try it one more time.
46 to the left,
see where we're at. Okay. Remember, right leg first. Come on.
In interphase G, one cell is growing, and in S, the chromosomes replicate, twist up and shorten. So the 46 pairs of sister chromatids are here. Some say attached at the hip, I say attached at the centromere. In G2, the cell prepares for the show. We've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for two diploid cells per billion. Interphase, now there's no place to hide. Oh, hematosis, maybe we will divide.
Good job, good job.
The nuclear membrane, it dissolves in a bath of all the jelly cytoplasm on the prophase lap. Now the chromosomes are free to float wherever they please, but on the metaphase plate they cut their metaphase feet. Oh no, it's given spindle fibers time to grow. Whoa. We've got 46 chromosomes and 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for two diploid cells preparing interphase. Now there's no place to hide. Oh, hematosis, maybe we will divide in anaphase. The cell stretches out cytoplasm while the protein-heavy spindle fibers get up and out of line. Reach out and pull the sister pairs apart. You 46 to the left, you 46 to the dark. Underneath nuclear membrane forms a ground. Each set of the 46 chromosomes wild type thick. We call it telophase. When the middle gets pinched, the side of the leaves supply the cytoplasm wrench. Two identical 2 and 7 symptoms. Whoa. We've got 46 chromosomes, now 46 pairs. Yeah, that's enough right there for two diploid cells preparing interphase. Now there's no place to hide. Oh, hematosis, maybe we will divide. Maybe we will divide.
Don't sit down. Do not sit down. Please. Please don't sit down. So, of course, up the value of every project when we create and publish something. We're going to film ourselves. It's nice and dark out there. We'll just get the general idea of what's going on. Oh, that looks good. People on the edges, if you desperately want to be in it, you need to move down and be in the front. Those who are in the center, if you desperately do not want to be in this is a standard definition camera. You will not be able to see likeness or anything like that. If you care to be on the periphery, you can go ahead and do that over the next 15 seconds while we tighten this up.
Interphase G, one cell is growing, and in S, the chromosomes replicate, twist up and shorten. So the 46 pairs of sister chromatids are here. Some say attached at the hip, I say attached at the
you. I saw you. You don't know, but people in the very back were just enthusiastic. And again, the wonderful thing about using one-take videos in the classroom is what we're about to experience, which is watch it right there. Keep your eyes off of Shannon. Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't know why. Maybe it's because you were in the center or something. I watched you the entire time. Well, that's not true. I looked away for a second and I'm like, what are we doing? That's great. That's great. It's classic. Okay. Oh. So, the interesting thing about where we're to at this point from a music in the classroom standpoint, we've extracted a lot of value out of that song so far. We've created and published some aspect of our learning, an artifact of our learning that can be revisited. What's really fascinating is the social relevance that the students will take at this point to this process. This is a video that was uploaded to YouTube a couple months ago. If you want to find it on YouTube, it's called Newton First Flash Mob. These 8th grade students, a couple different classes of 8th grade students, got together and decided to do a flash mob to a song about Newton's first law of velocity, acceleration, and momentum in their cafeteria at their school, based on these kinds of movements. is the fact that giving students an opportunity, as much as I've heard a lot of people talk about, you know, the creativity and how we extract it from students as they go through school, and I started out this talk about that. I was sort of negative about it, like I refuse to let this happen to my niece and all those kinds of things. What I love about this, these are 8th graders in a public school, and they took it upon themselves to make this not only socially relevant, but to creatively express themselves. That this, in all of us, and we experienced it all together, I think, most of us did, that this creative expression, this desire to express ourselves in the way we just did, is dormant in all human beings. And if given an opportunity, they will do amazing things with the learning. They decided to do this to express their science knowledge in front of their peers. I would bet against that.
Nerd power.
Nerd power. But no, I would guess most of those kids are not nerds. I would guess some of those kids are the cool kids in school who can incite others to get behind them to do something like this. But I love nerd power too. So anyway, so it's just an amazing opportunity to allow students to express themselves and giving them an opportunity to do this by hitting those different learning styles and giving them the freedom and ideas to do this. But we're not even at the end of the lesson plan. If we had you know, another hour or so, we would create an actual music video, because we've taken the music process to an extreme so far. Like, we've created movements, we created theater, we told story with our bodies, all that kind of thing. But the real challenge is the next step. And the next step after this is, okay, I would split you guys into groups. I would say, you guys have the first verse, you guys have the first chorus, second verse, second chorus. Now you know the movements. You know these things. Your job as a group would be to perfect what you know first. Second, to add to it. Somebody's got an idea. Let's do these things, or let's get together as a group and show it this way. Or the third thing is change it. Like, I don't like that move. I've got a better one that makes more sense. So challenging students to take it and really own it, not just follow the directions, but really own it and take it to the next step. I am not, as you can tell, I'm not much of a dancer. Some kids will do amazing things. Like, they'll take these movements and do really incredible things. So a couple months ago, we finished with Discovery Education. We did a music video challenge. So people from all over the United States and Canada submitted music videos to this challenge, and there was a public voting stage, and the winner, this is the winning music video to that, where the students went through this process. And a big part of the rubric for them being judged was how creative they were. They took the kinesthetic lectures, and then they went the next step to own it and create movements themselves that express the learning. This is a song about the order of operations called The Value, and again, this was the winner of the music video challenge with Discovery.
Please excuse my dear yourself before leaving the room. Oh yes, you'll get to your subtraction soon. The first parentheses are solved in the groups that she knew. She showed us how to tackle the exponents by multiplying the base and put a factor right in your face. 2 times 2 times 2, that's cubed. Work it from the left to the right. If you're confused or if you can't decide whether addition or division is on the rise, here's a numerical expression or two. Hey Sally, tell me the value. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally before leaving the room. She gets a little upset and assumes that people always divide before they multiply. Oh, they do. The factor times a factor gets a product during multiplication. Oh, then the quotient is next in the race. The dividend and the divisor are true. Work it from the left to the right. If you're confused or if you can't decide whether addition or division is on the rise, here's a numerical expression or two. Hey Sally, tell me the value. Add what's left to add, and we'll be finding the sum like we do. right. If you're confused or if you can't decide whether addition or division is on the rise, here's a very good expression or two. Hey Sally, tell me the value.
There were a number of submissions that were just super high quality. It was incredible. And if you want to see that again on YouTube, you can go to Den Dr. Lodge winner if you have any interest in seeing that again. So I'm wrapping up, and in wrapping up, I want to explain some resources and materials that we have that can help you move forward with these types of things. The first one is brand new. We have at the Friday Institute and the company SAS, I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're in the Research Triangle Park. They have funded us to create a program for teachers and also undergraduates at NC State. So our charge is to create a program for teachers in North Carolina. But doing this, we sort of stumbled on creating sort of an online class of this. And this is about flipping the classroom from our perspective and what we're offering there with the concepts. If you're interested, we are piloting this online class and collecting some feedback and some other things over the next 2 weeks. We have 3 contact areas. We have teachers at a school that are going to pilot it as sort of a school pilot. We've got beginning teachers in Wake County who are going to do it. And then we were just generally going to accept anybody else. We want to specifically push this out to people outside of North Carolina and see what that looks like. If you're interested in being a part of this, the site is sort of up and running. It's very much a kind of beta form. But if you're interested in participating with this, come up and talk to me personally, and I will give you some information on how to move forward with that. It will be the whole class. We'll just have to provide some feedback at the end, how does this class work, how will we change that kind of thing, so we can move forward with this. So if you're interested, again, come and find me. I'll be here all day until 2 or 3 o'clock. So I'll be popping into some sessions as well. And the last thing is at the Friday Institute, so the website for the Friday Institute is up there at fi.ncsu. We have put together a series of resources and tutorials, all one-take video-based, kind of practice what we preach, for how to remove the lecture from the classroom using one-take video, for doing differentiation in the classroom, which we didn't touch on today, using one-take video, and then meeting students with different learning styles, kinesthetics, musical, that kind of thing. Again, using one-take video. You can find tutorials at fi.ncsu.edu/phys for those materials. Facebook.com/phys education, phys.education. If you want to connect with us on Facebook, that's cool too. As time goes on, things like offerings for the online class as we move forward with it, and other types of professional development will be announced mostly on Twitter and Facebook for people outside of North Carolina. If you're interested in that kind of thing, we'll also publish a lot of our research findings to Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. I don't have a Phys Twitter account, I just have my personal one. If you want to find it, you can Google it. But thank you so much for your participation and your creativity today, and thanks for having me.